If you plan to fly Delta yesterday, today, or really any day in the very near future, my heart goes out to you. You have no doubt already heard that aging technology is to blame for 530 flights being canceled today and over 1,000 flights canceled yesterday on the airline that some have considered to be the most reliable option out there. Delta says they were able to bring their systems back online yesterday, but they need the extra time to reset the operation, which sounds a little like they just turned it all off and then turned it back on, which is not the kind of fixing I'm interested in. And then I decided to hurtle through the air inside a big, giant piece of metal. NPR interviewed Bob Mann. He's a former airline executive who's now an aviation consultant. He said these kinds of problems are going to happen in the future. No doubt.
And it's not just Delta that's encountered this sort of thing. Southwest recently had a similar outage that resulted in 2,300 canceled flights over the course of 4 days. In that case, it was a single router at the data center that malfunctioned. And there again, it required, to get the whole system up and running, that's a 12-hour reboot process just to begin with. That cost Southwest $5 to $10 million just to deal with that. And apparently this is bigger, mainly because Delta has more of a global reach. So this affected, all over the globe. And yeah, it really just kind of boils down to the fact that these airlines, their systems are legacy, they're legacy on top of legacy. And you have to imagine that companies this large have plans in place for this sort of thing, business continuity plans, damage protection for this sort of stuff. And in order for that to be effective, you have to test it regularly and see what happens if a simple power outage happens. It's kind of amazing, in a bad way, that something like a power outage was able to do this much damage to their infrastructure.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess it was their backup power didn't work. That was Georgia Power says it wasn't their fault. It was, something in Delta's backup switch. It was just the switch that didn't work. Last year it was big on, we heard a lot about airline hacking. There was the guy that claimed he could, hack into the system. He got thrown off a plane for doing it. And so we kind of knew that the system was a little bit insecure, but it's old technology. And I mean, flying planes all over the world is not easy. It's not like you could just say well, let's just fix this. So I don't know. It's a little frightening.
Yeah, I think obviously more exercises to understand what happens in an emergency situation like this need to take place. Like some of the stuff that I was reporting, was kind of wondering if maybe the outsourcing of jobs ends up having people who are disconnected from the systems that really matter, who don't have the kind of historical information, the historical know-how to manage outages like this. And it's maybe a byproduct of outsourcing some of these jobs to places into the hands of people that maybe aren't quite as aware or quite as in tune on the premises with what to do in this scenario. But yeah, there's a lot writing on that. I mean, that's a lot of people who had to change their plans, and that's just the beginning of it. Now they face the cost of all of that, which is pretty astounding. Yeah.